Part 3. Intentional Living. Between inspiration that moves mountains and mountains that actually move lies the sacred work of 10,000 ordinary moments, each one a choice to weave wisdom into the fabric of daily existence until consciousness becomes the very ground from which authentic life grows. The foundation has been carefully prepared through conscious creation and sacred stewardship. You have learned to read life's landscape with clarity, develop trust in embodied wisdom, and cultivated practical skills for honoring precious resources. Now comes the beautiful challenge of translating understanding into the patient work of daily cultivation. Like gardeners who know that magnificent abundance emerges not through dramatic weekend transformations, but through consistent daily care, you now face the art of weaving wisdom into ordinary moments that comprise the texture of lived experience. Through 3 transformative chapters, you will discover how to make mindful decisions that align with authentic values, how to bring ceremonial presence to routine activities, and how to work harmoniously with life's natural cycles rather than forcing constant productivity. This part of the journey transforms occasional conscious moments into sustained conscious living. You will learn practical approaches to intentional choice-making, discover how ancient principles can sanctify ordinary activities, and develop wisdom for honoring the rhythms that sustain long-term vitality. Knowledge becomes embodied wisdom through patient practice. Each conscious choice strengthens neural pathways toward authentic living while building confidence in your capacity to navigate life's complexities with grace and purpose. The patient work of intentional living awaits your loving attention, transforming daily existence into continuous opportunity for conscious expression and authentic growth. Building the trellis. Designing a life that supports your intentions. The trellis does not create the vine's desire to climb toward light, but provides the structure that transforms that natural inclination into beauty. So it is with the patterns we build. They shape not our deepest nature, but how that nature expresses itself in the world. Walk through any established garden, and your attention will inevitably be drawn to the structures that guide and support natural growth. The trellises that encourage vines to climb towards sunlight rather than sprawling across the ground. The pathways that direct foot traffic around rather than through delicate plantings. The raised beds that concentrate nutrients while providing drainage. The thoughtfully placed benches that invite contemplation of beauty that might otherwise be overlooked in passing. These structures represent the gardener's understanding that magnificent abundance emerges not through force or control, but through intelligent design that works with rather than against natural tendencies. The trellis does not make the vine climb. It provides support for the vine's inherent inclination toward light. The pathway does not prevent exploration. It channels curiosity in directions that enhance rather than damage the garden's health and beauty. Your daily life operates according to these same principles of structural support. Though the architecture that shapes your choices often remains invisible until examined with conscious attention. This chapter is about making that architecture visible. It is about the art of designing a life that makes your best intentions feel natural and easy, rather than like a constant, draining battle of willpower. The goal is to reduce the friction of conscious living, to eliminate the constant, low-grade stress that comes from fighting your own environment. When your world is designed to support your highest aspirations, contentment can flourish effortlessly. Let us consider the story of Ryan. Ryan holds a sincere and beautiful intention to begin a daily journaling practice. He has read about its benefits and feels a deep calling to connect with his inner wisdom. He buys a beautiful leather-bound journal and a fine pen. Yet, week after week, the pages remain empty. Each night, he feels a pang of guilt, a familiar shadow that whispers of failure. I just don't have enough discipline, he tells himself. I lack the willpower. But is willpower really the problem? Let's look at Ryan's garden. His journal lies buried under a pile of mail on a cluttered desk that serves as a monument to unfinished tasks. His evenings are a whirlwind of tidying up, answering last-minute emails, and the magnetic pull of his phone's endless scroll. By the time he remembers his intention, he is already exhausted, his cognitive resources depleted. The bright, alluring glow of the screen is far stronger than the quiet, intimidating call of the blank page. Ryan doesn't lack willpower, he lacks a trellis. His intention, like a young vine, has nothing to cling to, and so it lies dormant on the ground, vulnerable and easily overlooked. The soil of our being, we are what we repeatedly do. Before we build Ryan's trellis, we must honor a truth so fundamental it has echoed through millennia of wisdom traditions. The philosopher Aristotle observed that excellence is not an act, but a habit. We are, in essence, the sum of our repeated actions. Our character is not forged in a few dramatic moments of decision, but sculpted slowly, day by day, through the thousands of small, seemingly insignificant choices we make. These daily actions are like water flowing through the garden of our life. A single drop makes no discernible difference, but over time, the consistent flow carves channels, nourishes certain patches of soil while leaving others dry, and ultimately shapes the entire landscape of our being. The person who consistently chooses a moment of quiet reflection over distraction is, over time, cultivating a different inner landscape than the person who consistently reaches for their phone. The difference is not one of willpower, but of pattern. This is why building a supportive architecture is not a superficial act of life hacking. It is the sacred work of shaping who we are becoming. The garden layout, designing your physical space. Like a gardener preparing a new bed, our first act of design is to tend to the physical soil of our environment. The spaces we inhabit exert a continuous, subtle influence on our capacity for contentment, affecting our mood, energy, and focus in ways that operate largely below conscious awareness. Your brain is a masterful pattern recognition machine, constantly scanning for cues that trigger automatic behaviors. A cluttered space sends 1,000 different signals that fragment attention and create a low-grade hum of stress. An ordered, intentional space, however, sends a clear, calming signal that supports focused engagement. Research in neuroarchitecture shows that our brains respond profoundly to our surroundings. Natural light calibrates our circadian rhythms. Soundscapes can either soothe or agitate our nervous system. Even colors can subtly influence our emotional state. Ryan, realizing his cluttered desk is poor soil for a contemplative habit, decides to prepare his space. He clears a small corner of his study, removing everything that does not serve his intention. He places his journal and pen neatly on the clean surface, alongside a small, calming plant. He adjusts the lamp to create a warm, inviting pool of light and ensures the chair is comfortable and facing away from other distractions. He has not written a single word, yet the most important work has begun. He has created a sacred space, a patch of fertile ground dedicated to his intention. This simple act of curation is not about achieving aesthetic perfection. It is about reducing the cognitive load required to begin. His mind no longer has to fight through the visual noise of clutter to find the signal of his intention. This principle extends to every room in our home. A kitchen arranged to make healthy ingredients more accessible than processed snacks is a garden designed for nourishment. A bedroom kept free of screens and work-related clutter becomes a sanctuary that supports restorative sleep. By thoughtfully arranging our physical world, we are planting cues that make our desired behaviors the most natural choice. This is the first principle of building your trellis. Make the desired path the easiest one to walk. Ryan's sacred corner now sends a clear, silent cue to his brain. It says, "This is a place for quiet reflection." He has dramatically reduced the friction between his intention and his action. The path to his journal is now clear, inviting, and beautiful. Conversely, you can add healthy friction to the paths you wish to walk less often. If Ryan wanted to reduce his evening screen time, he could leave his phone charger in another room, forcing a conscious decision and a physical act to retrieve it. This small amount of friction is often enough to break the spell of an unconscious habit. By shaping our environment, we become the gentle architects of our own behavior, making our intentions the path of least resistance. The trellis itself, the architecture of habits. With the soil prepared, we can now build the trellis that will guide the vine's growth. Habits are this trellis. They are the automated behavioral patterns that, once established, allow our intentions to grow without requiring the constant, precious energy of conscious effort. The prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain responsible for deliberate choice and willpower, is like an eager but easily tired new helper in the garden. It starts the day with great energy but is quickly depleted by decision fatigue. The basal ganglia, where habits are stored, is like the wise old gardener who works quietly and tirelessly in the background, tending to patterns without conscious oversight. Our goal is to transfer the work from the tired helper to the wise old gardener. Neuroscience has shown that habits operate through a simple neurological loop. A cue, the trigger that initiates the behavior, a routine, the behavior itself, and a reward, the satisfaction that reinforces the loop and tells the brain it's worth remembering. By consciously designing this loop, we can cultivate almost any behavior. The most effective way to do this is a practice called habit stacking, where you link your new desired habit, the tender vine, to an existing firmly rooted one, an established post. You are borrowing the neurological momentum of a path that is already well-worn. Ryan's existing evening habit is brushing his teeth. This is his established post, a behavior so automatic he does it without thinking. The cue is finishing dinner. The routine is brushing his teeth. The reward is a clean mouth. He decides to build his trellis here. He makes a new commitment. After I finish brushing my teeth for bed, I will sit at my prepared desk and write just one sentence in my journal. This is the second principle of the trellis. Start small enough that it feels absurd to say no. One sentence is so manageable, it bypasses the brain's resistance to new, effortful tasks. He is not trying to become a disciplined writer overnight. He is simply laying down the first delicate strand of a new neural pathway. The reward is immediate and multifaceted, not just a check mark of accomplishment, but a small, satisfying sense of integrity, a moment of quiet peace, and a clear signal to his mind that he is someone who honors his commitments to himself. This feeling becomes the nutrient that feeds the new habit's roots. Companion planting, curating your social environment. No garden exists in isolation. The health of each plant is influenced by its neighbors. Some plants enrich the soil for others, some repel pests, and some compete for the same resources. Your social environment functions in precisely the same way, creating a powerful architecture of influence through the people you surround yourself with. Our nervous systems are like sensitive plants that attune to the emotional climate around them. We are social creatures wired with what scientists call mirror neurons. These specialized brain cells fire not only when we perform an action, but also when we observe someone else performing that same action. We unconsciously mirror the emotions, intentions, and even the physical postures of those around us. This is the neurological basis for empathy, but also for emotional contagion. A supportive, calm environment literally calms our nervous system, while an anxious or critical one puts us on high alert. This is why cultivating supportive relationships is not a luxury, but a vital act of garden design. Ryan decides to practice some conscious companion planting. He knows that telling a critical family member might invite judgment and pressure. Are you still doing that silly journal thing? Which would be like planting a thorny weed next to his tender new vine. The doubt and criticism would leach the nutrients of motivation right out of the soil. Instead, he shares his intention with his supportive friend, Michael. He doesn't ask Michael to police him, but simply to be a friendly witness. Occasionally, Michael asks, "How's the journaling going?" This simple question is a gentle ray of sunshine. It provides accountability without pressure and encouragement without expectation. It reminds Ryan of his intention without triggering shame. By choosing his companion wisely, Ryan has created a social microclimate where his new habit is more likely to thrive, nurtured by the warmth of supportive, non-judgmental connection. Weeding the digital patch. Curating your digital environment. Finally, every modern gardener must tend to the digital patch, a space where invasive weeds can grow with astonishing speed, choking out the light and nutrients needed for our intentional plantings. Distractions, especially digital ones, are the bindweed of the modern mind. They are genetically engineered by the attention economy to be hyper-palatable, promising endless novelty and connection that outcompete the slower, quieter growth of our authentic intentions. Your information diet, what you consume with your eyes and ears, shapes your thoughts and emotions just as your nutritional diet shapes your body. Ryan recognizes that his phone is the most aggressive weed in his evening garden. Its promise of endless novelty and connection is a powerful competitor for his tired mind. He decides he must consciously weed this patch. This is not a battle of willpower, but an act of intelligent garden design. Before starting his new evening routine of brushing his teeth, he creates a new micro-habit. He plugs his phone into charge. In the kitchen, he removes the most invasive weed from the immediate environment. By the time he is standing in his study, the urge to scroll has been replaced by the gentle invitation of his prepared, sacred space. The path to the journal is clear. The path to the phone now has friction. He might also consider a digital Sabbath, a designated time each week where he intentionally disconnects to allow his mind's soil to rest and regenerate, free from the constant input of digital life. Compassionate pattern, interruption, tending to the weeds. Building a new trellis is one part of the work. The other, equally important part, is tending to the weeds that are already in the garden. The behavioral patterns that undermine our contentment do not arise from character flaws or a lack of willpower. They are weeds, yes, but even weeds have a story. They are often outdated survival strategies, patterns that grew to meet a legitimate need at some point in our past. A wise gardener doesn't just rip weeds out in a fury, she understands why they grow there. Is the soil compacted? Is there a lack of healthy ground cover? Similarly, we must approach our own unwanted habits not with aggression, but with compassionate curiosity. This is the practice of compassionate pattern interruption. Let's look again at Raina's phone habit. Is he just bored or is he seeking distraction? Perhaps the scrolling is a way to numb the stress from a long day. Perhaps the thought of facing a blank page feels vulnerable, and the phone provides a safe retreat. The habit is not the problem. It is a clumsy solution to an underlying need. The work, then, is not to attack the habit, but to understand its root and plant something more nourishing in its place. The process is one of gentle replacement. Notice without judgment. Simply observe the pattern. There is the urge to pick up my phone. This creates a sliver of space between impulse and action. Get curious about the need. Ask with kindness, what is this urge trying to provide for me right now? Is it comfort? Distraction from a difficult feeling? A sense of connection? Choose a healthier routine. Once the need is identified, you can choose a more aligned way to meet it. If the need is for decompression, perhaps 5 deep breaths or listening to a calming song would be a better routine than scrolling. This new routine becomes a healthy, beneficial ground cover that over time leaves less and less space for the weed to grow. By tending to his patterns with this gentle curiosity, Ryan is doing more than just building a new habit. He is healing the soil of his inner world. Ryan didn't need more willpower. He needed a better trellis. By consciously designing his physical, behavioral, social, and digital architecture, he created an ecosystem where his intention could flourish. The one sentence quickly became a paragraph. The paragraph sometimes became a page. The nightly pang of guilt was replaced by a quiet sense of peace. His success was not a dramatic breakthrough, but the natural result of small, intelligent, and compassionate design choices. Integration practice. Design your own support. Trellis, your life is already a creative project. The invitation now is to become the conscious architect of your own garden. Use this practice to design a supportive ecosystem for one intention you wish to cultivate in your own life. 1. Choose your seed. What is your intention? Identify one small, meaningful habit or practice you wish to bring into your life. E.g., a 5-minute daily meditation, a brief walk at lunchtime, a practice of expressing gratitude. 2. Prepare your soil. Physical design. How can you shape your physical environment to make this intention easier and more inviting? What friction can you remove from the desired path? And what friction can you add to competing distractions? 3. Build your trellis, habit design. What existing solid habit can you link your new intention to? Habit stacking. How can you make the initial routine so small and easy it feels effortless? 4. Yes, I did wrong. Companion planting, social design. Who in your life could serve as a supportive companion plant? How can you share your intention in a way that provides gentle encouragement rather than stressful pressure? And weed your digital patch, the digital design. What is the primary digital weed that might compete with your intention? How can you create a boundary in time or space between you and this distraction? 6. Tend to existing weeds. Compassionate interruption. What existing habit might compete with your new intention? What underlying need might it be trying to meet? What is a small, healthier way you could meet that same need? By tending to these elements, you are no longer relying on the unpredictable weather of motivation. You are becoming a master gardener of your own life, creating the structures that allow your deepest intentions to grow, climb, and reach for the light naturally and beautifully.